Good evening, my lovelies, and welcome back. If we haven't met before and you haven't visited my channel before, I'm Camilla, otherwise known as the Queen of Constantia, and welcome to my secret throne room. Tonight, I'm going to be reviewing episode 2 of season 3 of the Real Housewives of Durban. And what an episode it was. It was so shocking that I actually am a little late with this review because I watched it twice, just to make sure that I'd got everything right. Now, as I usually do, people who haven't watched me before will need to be told this. I make notes in my little Real Housewives notebook because I've got a slightly elderly brain and I forget things. So I do refer, I look down at my notebook. There's not a constant flow of me looking at you all the time. So I will refer to my notebook. Is there anything else I need to tell you? I don't think so. A couple of things. Please subscribe to my channel. Does help my channel to grow. The more followers, the better, please, because then I can produce better and better content for you. If you like what I have to say, please click the notification bell, and then you will get told when I produce more content. And if you've got any comments that you'd like to make, please write them in the comment section below. All opinions that I give are mine, and I'm very happy if you differ with me because I've got big girl panties on and I can take differences of opinion. Quite happy for you to comment below and we can have a chat about it. Okay, so moving forward into this, wow, dramatic episode number 2. Talk on the streets is that it's buzzing in the buses, buzzing in the taxis, buzzing in the shopping malls. Wow, guys, you've got tongues wagging. So we start where we left off with the end of Annie's party and Jojo's princess party, which had landed up on an awkward note when suddenly Sarisha, as everything was about to end, had tried to get Nonku to confront Annie. It was all very awkward. I thought it was inappropriate, bad moment to be done, especially after Mbali had just been discussing the loss of her child. Anyway, so everybody's leaving and Annie sort of stays behind. She's lingering. And Jojo feels that perhaps Annie wants to talk to her about something, and they go and they sit down on a little stair outside in their pretty ball gowns. And Annie confides in Jojo that she has been getting some feedback on Twitter and getting a bit teased, she feels, about her lazy eye on one side of her face. And she then tells Jojo that during her first pregnancy, she had Bell's palsy, which is a horrible thing, and it leads to facial paralysis, which does wear off over time, sometimes not completely. Now, I have to confess that having watched all of Durban Housewives, I have actually never noticed Annie's lazy eye. But they then flick up a number of tweets that are making quite nasty comments about Annie's lazy eye. And so she says to Jojo, could she maybe go and see, or does Jojo have advice, because Jojo's had plastic surgery, about somebody that she could go and see about her lazy eye? And then she confesses to having been bullied in the past, and then she shows up some bullying tweets. Now, just a couple of things that I wanted to say here about some sense that I was getting. In the first episode, we saw for the first time Sarisha showing some vulnerability over her marriage. Now, we've never had any of that before. Now we've got Annie supposedly showing for the first time some vulnerability about people being mean to her and bullying her. Now, Annie has very much been perceived as the mean girl on this show so far. And I'm seeing these mean tweets, and having been a housewife myself, I can tell you that I was subjected to vicious mean tweets after I was a housewife. I mean, going so far as death threats, literally. So when you're a housewife, you have to wear big girl panties. just like I said, life is a matter of opinions. You're a one-dimensional person. I mean, I was called an ugly old hag, a wrinkled old hag, told I was too old to be on Housewives, etc., etc., etc. You got to have a thick skin. So somebody saying that you've got a lazy eye or whatever, I mean, I got told I had ugly teeth. Yeah, it just goes on and on and on. You're too fat, you're too this, you're too short, too tall, whatever. So I'm going, these are 5 tweets. Really? I'm just going, is this not a strategy to get some sympathy from Jojo? And if so, why? Because then there was one other one about, Annie's so mean, and then Annie refers back to having been bullied in her childhood, and, and I'm thinking, well, okay, if you were bullied, they say, I think there's an expression about, being hated makes you hate or something like that. But I'm just wondering why this particular scene. And then Jojo very sweetly says, nobody should hate you like that, and I'll help you, I'll take you to my doctor, and so on. And then the scene ends. And then we move on. Sorry, had to check my notes. But we move on to Nonku meeting up with her man that she's got a massive pash on. She's in love, apparently. I mean, I really hope that she is in love. But I'm a little bit concerned about what I saw cinematographically. Sorry, it's a very long word. Now, bearing in mind, a scene like we saw on camera is, it's an intimate scene. Really, really difficult to do. An introductory scene and a relationship about how your marriage is going to pan out when there's a whole lot of cameramen around you and mics and probably a director and a content person and whatever. And here's this poor chap arriving, looking very smart and gorgeous, by the way, and he's supposed to be giving you his intentions. The first thing that was really awkward for me about that was the hug. There was just no real physical contact about that hug. There was no closeness. It was a sort of an arm's length kind of really awkward hug. And then they sat down and they had a discussion about, would she cook? And if she didn't cook, if there was a cook that came in, would the cook be a second wife? Well, that was like, red flag. And then would she make, I think it's sorghum beer, and would she plow? That was hilarious. Can you imagine Nonku plowing? Anyway, I was getting a few red flags from this. I don't know if they can iron them out. Personal feeling, wasn't the place to do it. If they were going to have that discussion, should have been done in private. Maybe, hopefully, they will go away and now have that discussion in private, and then go and discuss it with their mutual families, because that whole thing was just off for me. I really hope Nonku finds happiness. She deserves it. I'm really enjoying her this season. I'm seeing a softer Nonku, and I'll move on to a bit more of that as I get through this review. And then we get to Maria and Ruan. So Maria's at home and she's making a cheese board, and suddenly Ruan bursts in through to the front door. I don't know who let him in, and he goes, boo-boo! And then Maria says that Ruan is her husband. Well, Ruan must be jolly busy because he's also Jojo's husband. I don't even know if Ruan has a partner. If he does, then he's got 2 wives and a partner. So Ruan, you must be exhausted, and I hope you're going for your vitamin C infusions and everything that you need to do, because boy, oh boy, are you a hardworking chap. Anyway, so he arrives and then they go outside on the deck. I've got to say, Maria, stunning house. Stunning, stunning, stunning. The view, the garden, gorgeous. And they go out on the deck and they have a discussion about the party the night before, during which they unpick basically exactly what I said in my last review, which was how entirely inappropriate it was for Sarisha to bring up or to demand that Nonku speak to Annie on her instruction at the end of the dinner party, which was hosted by Jojo, and just after a bereavement had been discussed. It was inappropriate. I agree with Maria. And then Ruan asks about Sarisha's party, and Maria says that she hasn't been invited. Curiouser and curiouser. Maria also says that Sarisha ignored her at the princess party. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. I wasn't aware that Maria was Indian. Ruan says that she is, so maybe there's some sort of cultural conflict going on there. Maybe it's a case of queen on queen kind of competition going on. But Maria's new in the show. I would have thought that Sarisha would have the authority. I've always, throughout all the previous seasons, known Sarisha to have very good manners. So why hasn't she invited Maria to this function? One, why did she, from what we hear from Maria, ignore Maria at Jojo's function? Does she know Maria? Is there past history? I'd like to find that out. Does Sarisha feel threatened by Maria in terms of looks, lifestyle, money? What's going on here? Very odd not to issue an invitation to a new housewife when the group has just been brought together for the first time. So there's something going on. I'm getting the vibe that maybe Sarisha's feeling a little bit threatened, but let's see. So now, moving on. Maria says that Sarisha is a lady. That's what Maria said. And my comment to that is that right now, on a lot of levels, I don't feel Sarisha's behaving like a lady. Certainly not the lady that she has behaved like in the past. She's had a switch this season, and I don't know why. I don't know if she's just decided she's going to bring more drama to the table for audience clout, audience ratings, that she felt she was recessive and that other people who were more messy were getting more attention. It's a thing. It does happen in Housewives. So it could well be that. But I'm not sure that it suits her. I think I prefer the old Sarisha. My opinion. As I said, all opinions are my own. Feel free to disagree. Right. So Mbali, Nonku invites Mbali over. This was a lovely, lovely scene. Nonku, you're appealing to me more and more this season. In the past, although I've never spoken to you, I have had my issues with you, particularly when you were going through your period, when you were drinking too much. Obviously, I was concerned. Look, I am an alcoholic in recovery. I've discussed this. So obviously, probably it was a bit triggering for me. I was very concerned about you. I just want to say, I am loving you this season. Your head seems screwed on. You seem in control. I'm just really enjoying watching you this season. Mbali came over. You had a lovely chat, a warm chat with her. You spoke to her about her loss, and then it was really even more devastating to discover that she'd then lost her baby or a young son at 16 and then had an ectopic pregnancy 2 years later. And of course, that would have involved the removal of her fallopian tube and then subsequent problems with the uterus. And of course, once you've lost one fallopian tube, very much reduces your chances of ever falling pregnant again. So in fact, she's lost 2 babies. And Nonku did the most beautiful prayer while totally embracing Mbali. And I felt it was so heartfelt. I was very moved. It was a beautiful scene. It was just lovely. And I really think that there will be a lovely friendship between these two. I really hope so. It was just very, very warm, and I felt well meant. Then we saw Annie going off to the a farm day with her children, and she said she was enjoying sort of getting to see her children, getting to know them in a different way. That was odd. So I thought, I almost got the feeling that maybe she was disengaged from her children, but maybe that was just me, that maybe she doesn't spend that much time with them. I think the nanny went too. Yeah. So I'm not sure how much time Annie actually spends with her kids. I don't know. But I felt that she doesn't really know them that well. Again, an opinion, I have no idea. I'm not part of her life. It's just a feeling that I got when she said it was interesting to see them interact with the animals and get to know them in this way. She was there with her sister, and she explained how she had chatted with Jojo, and that I felt that she was trying to, again, explain away the fact that she's perceived as mean. So she was giving this backstory, and she was saying, you know how I was bullied, and that's why I've put up all these walls, and that's why I don't let people in. And having said that's why I put up all these walls and stuff, and Jojo's going to take me along to see her doctor because she has all these threads and things put in her face. She then says, Jojo has a lot of shit done to her face and body. And I thought, okay, that's a mean girl thing to say. Instantly. You know, we make choices, forgive me, non-alcoholic but delicious. Jojo has always been very, very open about what she's chosen to do. She's always been very positive about the fact that she has work done because she wants to, not because she's insecure. And I actually like and admire that about her. And I too have bits of work done. And I'm really happy that I do. And I like the results. But Annie seems to think it's something to be ashamed of, and kind of goes along and makes this thing about, oh, I need help done with my lazy eye, and then runs Jojo down as if it's something to be ashamed of because you might want to change something. I mean, Jojo has body art as well. She's into changing her body. Why the hell not? But why is it used by Annie to sort of denigrate Jojo? I don't quite get it. But I'm not a mean girl. Maybe you are, actually. Maybe actually you are. And maybe it's got nothing to do with putting walls up or whatever. Maybe you should just be honest and say, I think plastic surgery is a horrible thing to do. Or, I think I need plastic surgery. But just make up your mind. Decide which one it is. Oh, and then her sister comes out and says, do you know what I think you need? I think you need therapy. I think her sister's right. That's what she needs. I can't see your lazy eye. And 5 mean tweets aren't a problem. Therapy's a very good idea. So, let's move on. Sarisha and the Slee alliance that started last week, about 5 minutes into the new season. So, Sarisha and her new best friend, her new bestie, Slee, the rational and sane Slee. So there's Sarisha is at, what is it? Umhlanga, laser and surgical ulcer? Yes, I think so. Ulcer, sounds like ulcer. I think it is, actually. It's a bit scary. Is it ulcer? I hope not. Maybe it is. Anyway, if it's ulcer, that's unfortunate choice of name. But I think it actually is. I have a terrible mouth ulcer. Oops. I shouldn't have done that, should I? Okay, so Sarisha has called along Slee, and of course she's rational and sane. I wonder who's creeping up, who's you know what. Anyway, and then she says to Slee, I think you're the friend that Nonku doesn't want to have. Oh, come on, Sarisha, you're doing it again. Let Nonku pick her own friends. You are stirring the pot, madam. You are. And you're doing it deliberately. Anyway, I'm going to do an opera. What? I think she's the friend. You're the friend that Nonku doesn't want to have. No, Slee doesn't like Nonku anyway. So why should Nonku want to have her as a friend? Slee used Nonku because Slee wanted to be a housewife. And the minute that she was there, she was looking around for chess pieces so she could realign her pieces on the board. Slee doesn't like Nonku. Nonku thinks that Slee likes her. Watch, mark my words. So then we move on. And then of course Annie comes along and they sit there and Slee backs up what Sarisha said about all this stupid chair changing business and who was sitting where and where the ladies should sit or men should sit, and stupid pictures of Annie sitting on holiday and whether it was okay for her to eat on her own, and is she scared of, I've never heard such a storm in a teacup. Less said the better. But now we see a splitting off factions, because now you've got the other four who are somewhere that I can't work out, because it doesn't look like it is Maria's house, and it definitely doesn't look like, I can tell you it's not at Mbali, because I've spent a lot of time at Mbali, so it can't be Mbali's rented house, but it's a house. And they're all sitting outside, and apparently the chairs are wet, and they are all discussing Jojo's party, and then Maria rushes off, and she goes to get blankets, and then she says, no, she's going to sit on all four of them until each one says, what I think was the first thing that they didn't like, or that happened at the party, first thing that offended them. And of course, they all say that it was what Sarisha did. They're all in agreement, which I'm in agreement with as well. So, that's kind of a given, and we're now rehashing the whole thing. Mbali does a little bit of talking in Zulu, which Jojo doesn't understand, and then Mbali's a little bit upset and says that everybody should learn Zulu, which is a little bit complicated, because I think the one language that we do have all in common is English in this country, and the Real Housewives franchises do tend to go all over the world, but we do subtitle them, and I think it's probably a little bit late for Jojo to learn Zulu now. But she could get out Babbel and use it on her phone. That's true. Anyway, I think it would be nice if Mbali made the effort to speak in English. Seeing that she knows English, it would be kinder if she could make the effort, just to help out. But, because Jojo just said, I didn't know if she was on Nonku's side or not. She was strongly on Nonku's side. I was on Nonku's side. They were all on Nonku's side. Sarisha did the wrong thing. But it's getting boring now. Okay, so can we finish that? That discussion was done. Everybody's in agreement. Sarisha did the wrong thing, and we've now used up like half an episode with everybody going round and round with the same thing. And then we go back to the Sarisha Alliance meeting at, is it Ursula? I don't know. I'm hoping it's Ursula, not Ulsa. I hope so. Anyway, so we go back to Sarisha Alliance. I'm getting this feeling that Sarisha is on a mission to bring Nonku down. Okay, now Nonku has been a big fan favorite all the way through. She's had huge audience ratings, even when she was messy. She's been loved and adored. And I'm just going, why would Sarisha be doing this? Why? Why is she drawing in Slee? Why is she drawing in Annie? And why is she making a mountain out of a molehill over a petty argument over chairs and creating this alliance against Nonku, who actually, at the moment, as far as I can see, has not put a foot wrong in these first two episodes? What is Sarisha up to? Looks like she's trying to bring Nonku down, and I can't work out why. Let's see. Sarisha so far on Durban Housewives was always adored, but for being sweet. That was it. Sweet and kind. We're seeing a very different person now. Okay, so now we see Maria and her husband having a chat. This is a very superfluous scene. I think it's just there so that we can see that Maria does have a husband, and they're talking about their child, Monkey, who's 14, and she's talking about her anxiety because Monkey doesn't like exams. Maria, no 14-year-olds like exams. She's then worried because Monkey doesn't know what he wants to do when he grows up. Maria, Monkey's 14. No 14-year-old knows what they want to do when they grow up. There is a lady called University Speaking. You can look her up on Google, who will assist you to fill in various questionnaires, which will enable him to get a better idea of where he would like to go in his life. I can't remember her first name, but her surname is Sulcus. She's an absolute genius. But please don't overpressurize your 14-year-old. At 14, your brain isn't, I mean, it takes until 25 for your brain to develop into an adult brain. At 14, you really don't know your bum from your elbow. And trying to decide what subject choice you're going to make at 14 and being pressurized by your mother to do so is horrific. Let him be a child. I mean, he's got puberty to deal with on top of everything else. Let your boy chill, take a step back, and let yourself have a chill pill as well. This is just from one mother to another. I've brought up 3 teenagers. I've lived through it, and I've learned to step back. Also, it'll just give yourself more room to breathe. Because honestly, you know, what happens is that you're 10 years out of school or 15 years out of university, and you find you're doing something entirely different from what you studied. So cut yourself some slack, love. Really, for your own benefit and for the benefit of your boy. Now that, of course, has nothing to do with this review, except that I was just watching you going through anguish, as mothers do, and we're all mothers and we're all housewives. So, hashtag again, just saying. Okay, so, Calvin, what a lovely man. I've had the privilege of meeting Calvin at the Durban July, and he's a solid fellow, I must say. So when I saw Jojo and Calvin having this little discussion in the garden, and Calvin said strange thing that happened to him when Nonku and Slee had come up, and Slee had said that she'd like to meet a rich chap, and could she go for a tattoo and whatever, I absolutely bought it. I mean, because that's Calvin, you know, he's absolutely straight as a die. And I didn't give it another thought. I just thought, how odd, and how, you know, strange thing to say to Calvin, but I get it. I mean, he moves with movers and shakers, and it's quite possible she would meet somebody very nice through Calvin. I mean, you should have seen the security entourage that brought Calvin and Jojo into the Durban July. We had to wait in queues of cars for 2 hours to get in, and they were whooshed in. It was amazing. Yeah, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Ha ha. Ha ha. So, yeah, it's who you know, you see. So I think Slee was hoping for who you know. Right, say no more. Anywho, moving on. Then we get to a scene where Slee is busy unpacking her shopping, and there trots along Nonku, little glass of wine in hand, to go to Slee to apologize. Apologize? I'm looking at this and I'm going, apologize for what? What did you actually do? I can't think of anything. I had to watch it again to check. She didn't do anything. She has not done a single thing to upset Slee. Wrong. Nothing. Nothing. I really wish she hadn't gone there to try and patch things up. It was a pointless exercise. And in fact, it allowed Slee to be arrogant and point scoring and just, oh no, it's fine. Thank you. Yes, everything's okay. I mean, with that haughty sort of, and you knew actually She was not going to bother to patch anything up at all. She had no intention of letting anything go back to normal. She's not Nonku's friend and never was. Never was, never was, never was. Watch that scene again. Cold as ice she is. She had no intention. There was no meeting of the minds there. Oh, how long are you going to be? Anyway, Nonku, don't bother. Don't go back there. Right, and so, oh, it's you, lass. It's not Ulcer. Thank heavens. You see why I make notes? Imagine the trouble I could get into. You, lass. Thank heavens. I can't make it into a horrible acronym. It's you, lass. Okay, so, I was going to say, Nonku, Slee is your frenemy, right? Frenemy. Listen. Okay, ULAS opening. I have to say, the ULAS opening gave us the best bit of shade of the night, thanks to Jojo. And it was this. If you have a Bentley, put it at your event. Because what does Sarisha do? She parks her Bentley inside the building, outside her cellar. That's crass. Yeah, that is. That's like over ostentatious crass. Yeah. Look what I got. So I'm going to park it inside the building. Go for it, Jojo. That was such good shade. Yeah. So, Slee, what were you wearing? You looked like you were going to a baseball match. It's like a cocktail evening with a band and beautiful food and everybody's dressed to the nines and Slee walks in looking like she's going to a baseball match. Did you get the wrong invite? Okay. Anyway, so everybody's talk. And they're all sitting there waiting for something to happen. And all of a sudden, this weird, large, balloon-shaped, red dress-wearing lady waltzes in and pushes her way onto the bench seating and plonks herself down with the ladies. And they all sort of look, you know, who are you? Hello, who are you? And she says she gate crashed. She says, I heard from people in the street that there was a party here, and so I went inside. Okay, now, I just want to say this. Directors, producers, content creators, and Showmax, I want to ask you to please stop insulting our intelligence. Because when somebody walks in like that and you immediately include them in the conversation and they immediately get included in the dialogue and they become part of the show from that moment, they did not gate crash. Because otherwise you would have had them thrown out. I mean, they're wearing a mic. They're on camera, okay? So you're insulting the intelligence of me and the rest of the whole of South Africa that are watching this show by making us believe that that happened. You're making us think that she's not. So you haven't introduced, if she's a new housewife, she's now a housewife that walked in off the street, apparently. So are we now dealing with street trash that's now suddenly been invited to join in the group? Somebody who literally is a gate crasher? Or is she a friend of someone? How does this work? Housewives are supposed to know one another. Not only that, but from the minute that she walks in, she's combative. The whole energy changes. I mean, it's just not the way that housewives are normally done. So she sits down and she immediately is condescending and rude. You know, I'm a private chef. And I think one of the ladies said, oh, you know, so would you cater my party? And I think, no, I certainly wouldn't cater your party. This is a whole massive attitude. The whole energy changes. The energy between the ladies changes. You can feel the atmosphere in the room. I mean, I don't know if the producers were trying to do this on purpose. I don't think it was funny. And I still have to find out what the ulterior motive was for all of this. Sane is her name. As I said, there's just no way that this happened without the producers' knowledge. Of course, very shortly after this, Nonku and Annie go off to go and chat again about the chair issue. I'm not even going to go there. I stand by the fact that Nonku was right not to give up her chair. Ladies sit, gentlemen stand. I'm not going back there. It just went on. And then suddenly things start to get very messy between Slee and Jojo, because this new lady starts accusing Slee of saying that she was a caterer and not a private chef. Now, unfortunately, Jojo gets things a bit arse over tip and takes that to mean that Slee talked down to the new lady. I don't even want to say her name. Talked down to the new lady, Sane, and didn't address her as a private chef, called her a caterer. And Jojo says, well, you call me classist, but now you're being classist and you've never liked me. And then Jojo and Slee land up in this massive Barney. Now, I've said from the beginning, Slee doesn't like Jojo. She'll never like Jojo. She's come into the show with preconceived notions about Jojo. She's made up her mind. She's not going to like her. And then it comes out about Jojo tells Slee about talking to Calvin to meet men and wanting to go to the tattoo artist, and Slee denies it. And then Jojo says, right, Nonku was with you. She calls Nonku over. Nonku backs up Jojo and says, Slee, it happened. That is what happened. I was there. I believe Nonku. I believe Calvin. Slee denies it. She says it never happened. And I just want to see at what point does she stalk out. So I said, Jojo can be very fiery. And she did lose it here. It's a shame she lost it quite as badly as she did. She's got a short fuse. She's a very loving girl. But sometimes to her detriment, she can be a little bit explosive. But you know what? She loves her husband. She hates being insulted. She hates liars. And she can go boom off pop. And Nonku said, and I believe her, what Slee was saying was a lie. And I believe Calvin because I know Calvin. I'm absolutely certain that Slee said what Calvin said and that Nonku said she heard. I'm certain it happened. I'm certain there was no collusion between them in advance. Although, as I said before, I hate things that happen off camera, because when things happen off camera, you can't be sure that they really happened. Anyway, Slee leaves, runs off, okay? And then the next thing you see, weird, Sarisha's phoning up going, baby, are you okay? Baby? They've only known one another for 2 days. Again, weird alliances. And now we're going to get to the final explosion. Londi walks in. How wonderful to see Londi. Londi's come back as a friend of the show. This is amazing, fabulous. But no sooner does she sit down than our devil lady in red starts insulting her in a way that I cannot believe I am hearing. She talks to her as if she is gutter trash, tabloid trash. It's inexcusable, absolutely inexcusable. I think she should have been thrown out, except she's obviously meant to be there. I'm horrified. I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know why she's there. That's all I have to say. I still have to find out what on earth this unbelievable Rude Woman is doing on the show. Let's see. Let's wait for next week. What a drama, folks. Lots of love. Lovely to see you. Please subscribe, like, press the notification bell. Big kisses. Bye.